what is visible. Visible is a chemical perception. It's like a idea. It's not a direct correlative. It's a slice of the electromagnetic spectrum that goes through all sorts of other processes, being turned upside down and being, made into all sorts of different relationships unto itself before it even arrives as a signal in our brain. So the act of seeing in itself is an odd thing to rely on.
We had this project, we called it Sound of Proteins. Well, a protein is a chain of amino acid. We wanted to see whether if transforming this chain of amino acid into a signal, and then transforming the signal into something that could be heard, it was possible to hear and distinguish a protein from another by following this process exactly. So you have a very long chain of amino acid that then folds in a certain shape. And what I found very fascinating was that even if you know exactly what the chain of amino acid is, you can't know exactly how the protein is going to fold. Potentially, I think with a little bit of training, people could start understanding much more about the protein just by listening to the sound. I'm very fond of this idea of just converting something that is not sound into something that is audible.
Well, with regards to my work that involves ecology and sound, I'm using sound to what I've been calling aesthetically sonify some of the activity that you have in natural systems, specifically plants, that otherwise aren't really perceivable because they happen in invisible, inaudible domain. So mostly it's to be able to bring some of those activities into our conscious. What happened when I started to sonify stuff I couldn't see, that was apparently coming off of things that were living, and then by virtue of that, feeling like things were alive, or hearing that things were alive in a way that I wasn't able to perceive before. I think the first time I really got music out of stuff I couldn't see or perceive was stunning. Get a little bit more connected to things that we otherwise may keep as a separate part of our world, even though they're not. They're very much intrinsic parts of our world, and to the point where if we got rid of them, we would not survive.
I'm interested in the different kinds of sounds that the body as instrument is able to articulate, using the body's, the electrical signals of the body itself, physiological signals, as a sound source. Usually, musical instrument is something external to yourself that you play. So then, if your own body becomes the musical instrument that you're playing, you are at once both the object and subject of the experience. As an oscilloscope, that is the audio signal that we're listening to. This is literally the impulse train of neuron impulses that are causing the muscle contraction. So as I cause the contraction, the movement that caused contraction in that channel, it is the electrical signal produced by the body, and we just happen to be listening to it.
If you could hear the sound of our muscles, would we get better in physical rehabilitation? I'll give you an example. If I have a stroke, and let's say that I can't move my right arm properly, but I can still move my left arm properly. So I can hear the sound through some small microphone, a sensor or piezoelectrics. I can hear the sound that my good arm is making, and I can hear the sound that my bad arm is making, and I can hear that they're different. If I'm doing rehabilitation, I'm generally using sight and proprioception and tactile sense in order to get information about where my arm is and how it's performing and how I'm moving it. If I could add to this sound, so would I be able to do rehabilitation faster and better? I think we should and could do more in terms of using sound as a feedback mode.
Where does my sense, aside from proprioception, where does my sense of what I'm doing come from? And this came usually through the sound produced. And so sound itself becomes a feedback channel. Sound itself can become tangible, palpable. Sound isn't just heard by the ears, but it can be felt by the body. And as I perform and make a gesture or squeeze invisible space to control a sound, and that sound, the output sound comes back through acoustic space to vibrate my body, then there's a real visceral feedback. When the body is directly implicated in the artwork, there's indeed a lot that we learn about our own body or about our body in relation to other bodies. And there is this question of what is a body?
As we move into a very technologically oriented world, are we looking to technology to save us from the effects of technology? Hopefully what I can help facilitate through my work is breaking down some of the misconceptions that we have of being superior, in control, dominant, helping us to remember that we're not disconnected at all, we're completely interrelated. And just because something doesn't move, or moves at a much slower rate than we do, or doesn't have eyes and doesn't have a face, does not mean that it can't take information and make decisions about it that engage and inform how it chooses to live.